spooky
right.
time. And
I'm ready.
we're going to discuss some things. But before we do that, I wanted to give a quick update on the wins draft, Mike. And this does not go into, I'm not taking into account any of the results tonight.
Okay.
Okay. So we are recording this at 10 o'clock. There's a few games that have ended. Minnesota lost to Dallas. But let's talk about the wins draft. Right now, I have 33 points. Mike has 33 points.
Wow, look at that.
We are
All
1
right.
week in and we are tied.
All right. Nice.
I feel like
Nice.
last year, the first week of the season, I was up like 10. I
Yeah,
was like,
you jumped out right away and pretty much I think held on to that
I
lead
won
at
by,
pretty much
I
that
went
margin.
back and looked. I won by 36 or something like that.
Okay. The
So
first week of the season definitely helped you. Let's put it that way.
yeah, for sure. So right now, it's a dead heat, Mike. It's a dead
All
heat.
right. All right.
So that's good stuff right there. So Mike and I were talking today and via text and was like trying to come up with an idea. And I said, well, we don't normally do like a Halloween. I think we've done like trick or treat or something along those lines. So I thought of what's the three scariest things that you've seen so far. And I said, let's leave it open to interpretation. So, there's lots of ways we can go with this. But I don't know. Do you want me to start, Mike? Do you want me
I
to?
want you
Do
to
you want
start. I want to see. I want to
okay.
see what you're. I want to see. I want to check your thought process here.
The first thing that I thought was scary is Dwayne Wade's statue. That's where we're going. That's where we're starting. Like I'm starting with Dwayne Wade's statue.
Okay.
Nothing to do with the NBA. But there's multiple scary things on the horizon here. The first thing is who thought this was a good idea? This statue. It is the most horrendous thing I've ever seen in my life. We've talked about statues before. It looks like a mixture of a basketball player and Gollum from Lord of the Rings. I don't exactly know what's going on. It's already probably the most memeable thing from the NBA season for sure. I've seen lots of good ones so far. Like I saw a meme. I don't remember which one you sent me, but I saw the meme of the big three, and it was like LeBron, Chris Bosh, and then Dwayne Wade's statue. I've seen, I've seen a picture of Dwayne Wade next to Thanos. I've seen just a variety of terrible. It's just a terrible picture, and I think if you watch the video of the statue being revealed, Dwayne Wade's looking at it like he's like, "Oh, this is an out of body experience," and I don't think they meant that in a positive way. I just don't think it was good at all, and then the whole fact that they've had these press conferences. Did you have you been paying attention to the press conferences, Mike?
And I heard Dwayne Wade's quotes that he was involved in the process the entire way, and that he signed off. And it's not supposed to capture a real world likeness of him. It's just supposed to capture his moment or whatever it is. And yeah, that thing. So I don't know. I was listening to the mismatch today, and I forget which one, whether it was Jacoby or Chris Vernon, that one of them said, "Well, I think it was Jacoby said, well, how come they didn't just didn't go get the guy who did the Dirk Nowitzki statue?" Then the other guy said, "It is the guy who did the Dirk Nowitzki statue." So let's put it this way: that facial expression. I love my favorite meme or comparison is the Antoine Walker. The Antoine Walker face. He looks exactly like Antoine Walker with a giant forehead. I mean, it just doesn't look anything like Dwayne Wade. I mean, there's no possible way you could have showed me that face or shown anyone that face, and I don't know how many guesses it would have taken before I got to Dwayne Wade as far as that goes, but it would have been a long, long, long time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Someone, not that our listeners will maybe know this reference, but the Power Ranger. Do you remember the Power Rangers, Mike?
I do remember the Power Rangers.
They put his face over the Zordon's face, like the guy who talks to the Power Rangers. Here, this is
Okay.
more for you, but I don't know if you can see this in the video, in the picture, in the video. It's
All
a
right.
good
Yeah, I
pic.
got it.
That's a
Okay.
good one.
Great.
That's
Okay. I've seen that. Yeah.
that was a good one. So, anyways, uh, I just that's where I wanted to go. That was the scary off the floor thing that I wanted to go with. So I don't know if you have any off the floor ones, but uh, and by the way, really quickly on this topic, so it's a little sub. I really, really am going to enjoy the NBA on TNT this season because they're going to be completely out of pocket because they have nothing to lose now because they aren't having the games next year. and the things they're going to say, um, man, I think Chuck said something about melting this statue down and repurposing it to something else today. And
Look, it's bad. I mean, there's no question that that statue is scary on many, many, many different levels. And look, Wade obviously deserves to have a statue in Miami, but the fact that I guess he's trying to spin it, I'm not sure what the value is for him in spinning it that he likes it or thinks it's good. Now, look, it's hard to get a statue and a likeness that facially looks perfect. If you go and look at the Jordan statue, I don't know if you've seen any pictures of that today, just to refresh your memory, but I'm not sure that that statue, it looks like Michael Jordan might be 45 years old in that on that particular statue facially. So I wouldn't say that one was perfect either. Obviously, they got a pose that is pretty symbolic of Michael Jordan, unlike the Dwayne Wade yelling, and I guess that's supposed to symbolize him up on the scores table after they win the title. But I don't know, Matt. It's definitely scary and not in a positive way. Let's put it that way.
all right, so what's yours?
Okay, so I tried really hard to find something positive that was scary in a positive way. And there are definitely some things, but all three of mine are going to skew to the negative. So let's see where I want to start with my first one. And it's something that we texted about last night during the Cavs Knicks game. And the scariest thing that I've seen in the NBA to this point is Karl Anthony Towns on the New York Knicks. And if you are a New York Knicks fan, you have to be frightened beyond belief that Karl Anthony Towns is now on your team. And not only is he on your team this year, but I believe he has 3 more years left on his contract. And in the last year of that contract, the New York Knicks are going to be paying him somewhere in the neighborhood of $64 million to be playing basketball for the New York Knickerbockers franchise. And man, when you watch Cat, he just is a dude that, like, I just watch him and I mean, for lack of a better way of saying it, he's just clueless. Like, he doesn't, it's honestly like for a guy as talented as he is, he has no basketball IQ. It's like he's never played with 9 other players before. And it's just, he doesn't fit at, not that he fits with any team that's good and has a decent basketball IQ and is tough and is going to compete, he's not going to fit with. And that's why Minnesota wanted to get rid of him. And I have no idea why the Knicks wanted to acquire him. Especially, look, I'm not so sure that Julius Randle is a tremendous fit for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he's had 2 good games. I don't know what Randle did tonight in their loss to
I'll
Dallas.
while you're going, I'll look.
I'm not sure exactly what he did, but he's been good the last 2 games. He wasn't very good in the first game. He's been good in the last 2 games. You found it?
I'm getting there.
Okay. All right. I thought you were ready to I thought you were ready to share it. Anyway, so unless eh, like at least Minnesota, even if Randall stinks for them, at least it's addition by subtraction because Julius Randall is going to be a free agent and you can let him walk out the door. Carl,
Mike. He was 7 of 13, 3 of 3 behind the arc, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 20 points tonight. Julius
okay.
Randle. Listen,
So he's had 3 good games in a row.
yeah, they lost. Anthony Edwards had a great game tonight, but they lost. But yeah, I don't know. I listen. There's some good. There was some. I'm really missing the low post a lot. I don't know what's going on with Zach Lowe. He's tweeting stuff every once in a while, but he wrote last night. This was after this morning. Great win for the Cavs last night at MSG. Scoring isn't off the charts or anything, but I've loved Mobley's mentality so far. More physical, confident, nastier. Recall, Cavs are my strongest over in September on the low post episodes. They are good. New York's still figuring that out. And similar to Redick with AD, Kenny Atkinson is feeding Mobley some more reps on the pick and roll ball handler. The Mobley Merrill inverted pick and rolls caused New York some issues. The biggest problem is Cat has only 6 3-point attempts in 3 games, and that's not going to cut it given his terrible defense.
Look, when you watch Towns, I don't care in any game, but obviously I watched the Cavs game last night against the Knicks a little bit closer than I might normally. And he just is a turnstile. And guys come down the lane, and at best, what you get from Karl Anthony Towns is a swipe at the ball as a guy's going by him. So defensively, he just, when you think about the New York Knicks identity and you think about Tom Thibodeau as a coach and you think about what they're all about and the toughness that that team had, Karl Anthony Towns just does not fit that. I think about when the Knicks just totally destroyed the Cavs in the playoffs 2 seasons ago and just annihilated them on the offensive boards. And every dude that was out there was physical and tough and just got after it on every single possession at both ends of the floor. And Karl Anthony Towns, defensively, he's lost. He doesn't move his feet. He can't guard his own man. He's not good at help. He's not a rim protector. Defensively, he's a huge, huge deterrent, a huge negative for the New York Knicks. And then on offense, he might, as skilled as he might be even more clueless and harmful on offense. I mean, he'll get the ball and it stops with him. And as soon as it stops and he's got the ball in his hands for like 2 seconds and he hasn't made a decision, you know something bad is about to happen. You know he's going to put the ball on the floor and have some terrible drive to the basket. I don't know how many offensive fouls he gets for putting his off arm out. He got one last night. He drives into like four guys and throws up an awkward shot. He just he's not a winning basketball player. And you will not be able to convince me that he will ever become a winning basketball player. I feel like any team that has him, you are going to be winning in spite of him rather than because of him. I think back to the Chris Finch last year when Towns had 50 or something, and he was going for 60, and they actually took him out of the game and benched him because Chris Finch was just tired of watching him. And I mean, for a guy that's as skilled as he is as a shooter, and I mean, he is capable of putting the ball on the floor and he is capable of posting up. And he does, obviously, he's a guy who's averaged 25 a game, but it's just everything that he does seems out of place. He just looks lost. He doesn't look like he competes. He's not tough. I just, if you're a New York Knicks fan and you are watching Karl Anthony Towns on this team with Tibbs as the coach and with the rest of the guys that they that have that physical warrior mentality, I mean, I just don't see in any way, shape, or form how Karl Anthony Towns makes them better. And if you're the Knicks, like I said, the Minnesota Timberwolves can have the excuse that even if Randall doesn't work out, it's addition by subtraction because you get Cat and his salary off your books. It doesn't work the same way going the other way because you gave up another asset in DiVincenzo, who was a huge part of your team last year. And yeah, you could say, okay, they made their playoff run and played well down the stretch without Randall, but Randall was only going to be on your roster for one more year. And now you have Towns for this year, plus, I believe, three more. And like I said, in the last year of that contract, he's making like $65 million. And you talk about an albatross and you talk about a huge mistake by the New York Knicks and their team building process, which up to this point under Leon Rose has been, I would say, very, very well done, very patient. This move to me makes no sense because you have now wasted the Jalen Brunson hometown discount. And I don't think this is a championship team with Karl Anthony Towns a part of it. And you just now have boxed yourself in. I guess maybe at some point you can get some other sucker to take a flyer on Towns, but I just don't see it. To me, that is the Knicks went from being a team that was a legitimate threat to, I don't know, win the title, maybe a little strong, but they were certainly a legitimate threat to be an Eastern Conference Finals team. And they would have been much better served keeping Randall, signing Isaiah Hartenstein, and being done with it
Yep.
because I'm just not a fan. Towns, man, he's just not a winning player.
All fair points. All fair points. And what I've seen, you know, th- I know early
early returns are, obviously early, but everyone had thought that maybe this was a good move for both teams. Like I'd heard that it might end up. I mean, it's definitely. I think Minnesota's in a better place for sure. The Knicks
Absolutely.
are not, which would about sum up the New York Knicks in the last 20 years, right? So, all right. So my next scary thing is it's someone we haven't talked about at all on the podcast, Mike, very
All
much
right.
recently.
Okay.
Um, but and they're currently locked in a battle in overtime with the Brooklyn Nets. But the Denver Nuggets, what in God's green earth is going on there? You've got, listen, Russell Westbrook is he on this team in 2 months, Mike? Is there any
He's having a,
way?
he's having a big night tonight, buddy.
Oh yeah, what's the stat line? He
5 of
missed.
12 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 22 points. What's he shooting from? What's he made from the
Oh,
line?
he
Let me
missed a
see.
dunk. He missed a dunk
10
that
of
was.
10. 10 of 10 from the line.
I, I mean, okay, so he's playing okay tonight, but what's going on with Denver? Like, they're 1-3, right? Coming
1
into
and 2.
tonight, one and
1 and
two
2
coming
coming.
tonight.
Yep.
They're in a dogfight with the Brooklyn Nets. They just haven't looked good. It looks like they're going to pull this one out, so they're going to become 2-2. But I'm not sold on the Nuggets anymore, and it's really bad that I'm already pulling the plug on this. And I think I had them in the finals. I'm
We had
having date.
we had them we had them when they can win it.
I'm concerned, Mike. I don't know how you feel, but I'm concerned. It's not because of Jokic, right? It's not because of him because he's played like Jokic. It's everyone else.
So this is my scariest thing, number 2. So I'm right there with you. This was my number 2. So I'll come up with a different one, but I can share some Nuggets thoughts. So the concern with Denver going into the season, well, there were two. I guess there were two, but well, there's multiple concerns. One of the big concerns was they don't shoot or make enough threes. That has proven to be the case thus far through 4 games. So they have made 10 threes up until tonight's game. They were averaging 10 3-pointers made, 31 3-pointers attempted. Tonight they're a little bit better. They're 13 of 27. So which is probably why they're going to win the game. But they still that number attempting 31 threes in a game is probably at the low end of the league. I don't have it right in front of me, but I'm sure that's at the low end. So that's number 1. They just don't shoot enough. They don't have enough shooting, especially off their bench. Number 2, they had all these young guys that after they got rid of Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, they let KCP walk to Orlando in free agency. So that elevated Christian Brown to the starting lineup. And then you're putting a big emphasis on Percy Watson and Julian Strother and these other young guys that they have off their bench. And obviously, they put a lot of faith in Russ, who up until tonight, he's been, I think he was 1 of 9, maybe from 3 in their first 3 games. And he's been, I would say, again, just like Karl-Anthony Towns, he's been a detriment to Denver trying to win games. And all those concerns have been shown clearly through these first 3 and I guess 4 games. I mean, yeah, they might beat Brooklyn tonight, but still, you can't be very happy if you're the Denver Nuggets and you're barely squeaking by in overtime the Brooklyn Nets, who are more than happy to lose as many games as they possibly can. So I just think Denver, when you look at what they have, you still have the 3, or I'm sorry, the 4 main guys from their title team. KCP, I think, was guy number 5. So you still have Murray, Jokic, Michael Porter Jr., and Aaron Gordon, who they signed to that extension. But I mean, I don't know. They can't do anything. If Jokic isn't on the floor, like they just can't do anything. Jokic generates everything. And look, Murray's been, I think, fine to this point. I mean, he hasn't been super explosive, but he's been okay. I mean, he's not shooting the ball very well. He's shooting 36% from 2-point range and 38% from 3. But he's been okay. He hasn't been Jamal Murray Olympics bad, Porter's been, I would say, below average. Aaron Gordon's been sort of his usual normal self. Jokic has been phenomenal. I mean, going into tonight, he was averaging 32, 10, and 7. And I think he's going to easily surpass those numbers. He's at 29, 18, and 16 tonight. So all his numbers, except for his scoring, are going to continue to go up. Look, this dude is just, he's the best player in the world. And they just have Denver's management, ownership, the Cronkies have just let this team erode away to the point where, look, I still think Jokic can carry them a long way if they can get 95% of the best version of Jamal Murray when they need it. But man, I mean, they just don't have any depth. Like Russell Westbrook is playing way too big of a role on this team. We've seen this movie before. We saw it with the Clippers last year where he was effective at times during the regular season. And then come playoff time where teams had the ability to plan and scheme and they're just like, go ahead, Russ, man, do whatever you want. And he just completely faded into oblivion and was actively harming the Clippers' ability to win games. I think you're going to get to that same point with the Nuggets. And man, it's sad to watch because you hate to see a guy with Jokic's brilliance, especially somebody who's so good at lifting his teammates, just have to absolutely carry every bit of what this team's going to be. And again, we're talking about a team that's going to probably be after tonight 2-2 and barely squeak by the Brooklyn Nets, who everybody expects to be at the very bottom of the standing. So this is it's scary for Denver, and it's sad that this is what it's come to, that they just haven't been willing to pay those role players, and either the young guys aren't good enough or they're just not ready. And you just can't waste guys, primes, dudes that are this good. You have to try to put the best possible team around them, and letting guys walk is not really the best way to do that. So I agree with you. They were my number 2.
Oh, well, that's good. You want to do your other one, or do you want me to do my third one? Or
I want you to take your third one, and that way, if I have to punt and come up with 2 new ones, I'll do
all right,
that. If I don't, then
all
we'll
right,
see.
Mike. My next scary thing.
Okay.
I think the Los Angeles Lakers are legit, and that JJ Redick is going to be a really darn good coach. And I'm excited to see tomorrow night. I'm excited to see the Cavs host the Lakers tomorrow night. I'm not going to be watching most of the game because I'll be in the middle of boys basketball tryouts, but I will definitely, be trying to catch a replay of it for sure. But I just think the Lakers are legit. I think LeBron is legitimately, I sent you a tweet. He says he wants to play all 82 games. Now, will that happen? I don't know.
Did you see everybody making fun of him after he said he was feeling sick after this last game? Said he started feeling bad Friday, but Friday night he had the triple double and didn't say anything about it. And then after he didn't play very well against the Suns last night, he told everybody he was feeling sick. So lots of people were all over him on Twitter.
Whatever. People can get all over him on Twitter. He's the second greatest player of NBA history. Give me a break. I'm just saying. Come on now. Come on. Listen.
I understand.
Listen. I didn't watch any of the game last night. I literally came home and went to bed shortly thereafter. So I watched the end of the Cavs game and then I went to bed. So I didn't get to see anything. All I know is I think they look legit. I think they're going to be legit. I think they're going to be, I'm not saying that they're going to win the title or that they should think they should win the title, but I think they believe they can. I think JJ Redick, for everything that I've seen, heard, he seems like he's a maniac. Okay, we knew that as a player he was a maniac. I remember someone was doing their laundry and they saw him watching film while he was doing laundry, at like the laundromat or something. I don't remember, the team hotel or something. And he was sitting there watching film and wherever he was, or maybe it was a coffee shop. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like, I think he's going to be a good coach. And listen, even if LeBron plays 70 games, I mean, it's just amazing. Tomorrow will be his, or today was the 20. It's been 21 years since he made his debut or something like that, Mike. Tomorrow, I think Bronny hasn't played much, hasn't played at all since the first game. There's no chance in hell that they don't see the floor together tomorrow in Cleveland. There's just no way, right? They're definitely going to be on the floor together tomorrow, right?
I'd say that's probably the last time.
Ever? Last time ever?
I don't know about the last time ever, but it's the last time for a long
Well,
time.
well, the G League stuff starts like in a week, right?
Right,
Because
but there's no other game where there's a necessity to put Bronny out there. This game, there's probably a necessity to put him out there, but after this, I think the obligation to Bronny and LeBron is finished after this game. You've accomplished what LeBron wanted to accomplish, and there's no legitimate reason why Bronny should be on an NBA floor in front of anybody else that the Lakers have on their roster.
yeah, but I like I think the Lakers are going to be good, Mike. I think I think they're a top 6 team in the West right now. I think they're in. I'm in.
Man,
I'm in.
uh,
Well,
look,
listen, it's not like they've beaten a bunch. It's not like they've
well, look,
beating bums.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, they're off to a great start, right? I mean, there's no question they're off to a great start. I think that I do agree with you on one sense of the JJ Redick piece that it seems like through this beginning part of their schedule and through the way that they're playing that he has made some meaningful changes. It does feel like they're playing and centering the offense more around Anthony Davis and less around LeBron, which you and I have talked about since the podcast started. That hard to imagine a day that would really come to pass. But in these first 4 games, I think that's the direction that it's gone. I wonder, and this is just me looking at it from the outside, JJ seems, I don't know what the correct word is here. There's a mix of arrogance and I don't know what the second I don't know what the
Bravado.
yeah, maybe. I I wonder, like, I think eventually I'm not sure how that plays outside of the Lakers locker room with other teams, players, coaches. I don't know how that plays. I don't know what the perception of Redick is as somebody who hadn't coached before. And look, if you keep winning, that answers all the questions. But there still has to be some degree of resentment around the league with guys that have put a lot of time in, regardless of what you think of JJ Redick's resume as a basketball player.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder how that plays inside the locker room if things aren't going well. I think it plays really great, really well if things are going in a positive direction. I wonder if things flip, how that turns out. I wonder if there's a potential for it to end badly. But let's not jump ahead to that. Let's give Redick credit. I think we talked about before he coaches a game when he first got hired. Hiring somebody who has no experience can go one of two ways, right? You can either, and I've always been a proponent of give somebody a chance who's new because you might end up with a great coach. And maybe that's what happened here with the Lakers. The other way it could possibly go is to be a complete disaster. And it doesn't look like this is headed for a complete disaster through the first 4 games. So kudos to Redick and kudos to the Lakers at this point. However, I still think to project across the whole entire season, I know you've been higher on the Lakers than I have for the last couple of years. And to think that they're going to finish in the top 6 in the West, when you look at just again how deep the Western Conference is. And look, I guess if Anthony Davis continues to average 33 and 12 over the course of the entire season and he plays 75 games, then there's probably a pretty good chance that maybe LA stays up there. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to sustain that. And then we've been saying that we expected to see Father Time in LeBron's rearview mirror for a long, long time. And I think we're finally seeing it, my friend. I think it's finally starting to happen. And again, he's almost 40 years old. What he's doing is absolutely incredible. It's unprecedented. It's amazing. But right now he's averaging 20 a game, 7 points or 7 rebounds, 5.5 assists. All those numbers obviously are down across the board. Sorry, 7.5 assists, but so I guess his rebounding and assist numbers are
I
probably
mean,
about where
and
they've
he
been.
had yesterday when he had 11 points. So
Man, I'm just saying.
that's gonna like you take that game out of it. What's he averaging? I'm saying so he's averaging. Wait, you say he's averaging 20 a game?
Yep.
20 a game for 4 games. So that means he's got 80 points. You
Yep.
take the he's so before that he was averaging 23 a game.
All right.
So that's close to 25, 7, and 7. Like, I mean,
Shooting 44% from the field. I'm just saying. I'm not saying he's over the hill. I'm not saying he's washed up. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that right now, this is the first time when you watch him play that it doesn't completely blow your mind when he's not at 27, 7, and 7 like he's been at for his entire career. And I don't think he's going to get to those numbers this season. I'd be very surprised. And I don't know. I'm just not in love with the rest of this Lakers roster. And I think they're going to be hard pressed to finish in the top six. I don't know. I'd be willing to bet against it at this point.
okay. All right. What's your scary thing, Mike? Oh, really quickly, the Golden State had 14 points in the first quarter tonight.
There you go.
No Steph Curry.
I won't mention the 12-man Golden State rotation as one of the scariest things, but that is kind of scary that they're trying to play 12 guys. That Kerr's playing 12-man rotation. Anyway, all right, my next scary one is the Milwaukee Bucks. And
The Peyton Pritchard 3 and then the Doc Rivers video. You saw that, right?
yes, I saw that. Yeah. Look, Milwaukee. So I think if you're Milwaukee, you have to be frightened beyond belief that you are currently 1-3, and your two best players are both averaging. Giannis is averaging 28.8. Damian's averaging 20. I'm sorry, 28. Giannis is also averaging 11 rebounds and 6.5 assists. Dame's at 6 rebounds, 6.5 assists. Giannis is shooting 62% from the field. Lillard is shooting 47% from the field. He's only shooting 30% from three. But I mean, both of those guys have been good offensively. And the rest of their team, I mean, I just don't know where they go without Middleton for somebody else who can produce anything on a regular level. And we lauded him along with lots of other people for signing Gary Trent and Torian Prince and DeLon Wright, who are all guys that are fine as your fifth, sixth, seventh guy, maybe. But the rest of your lineup has to have a little bit more pop. And it just doesn't. And then that's just talking about the offensive end of the floor. And then defensively, like they just can't guard anybody. I mean, they can't stay in front of anyone. When you look at their lineups, I mean, Gary Trent Jr. has a reputation of being a good defensive player. I'm not so sure we've seen it yet to this point in this season. We know that Dame on that end is, I mean, he's a borderline disaster. He can't stay in front of anybody. Brook Lopez has not been nearly as effective this year as he's been in years past. Now we're only 4 games in, but he's getting older. He didn't always move very quickly when he was young. And then you just look at the rest of their team. They just don't have guys that are young, athletic. And this is what happens, right? When you have a championship team that you try to keep the pieces around, you get old and you don't have guys. You got to hit on somebody at the back end of the draft that leaps up into your rotation that you don't expect. And really, the Bucks have not had that with anybody that they've picked over the last couple of years toward the back end of the first round. None of those guys, Beauchamp, and I know last year they drafted Andre Jackson, and none of these guys have just progressed to the point where they can be rotation players. And as a result of that, Milwaukee just has become an old, unathletic team. And I think it sets up a situation where at the end of this year, I don't know what they do. I don't know what Giannis does. Does he look around and at some point does he have to go and demand a trade? I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I don't know how Milwaukee gets themselves out of this current situation and still
Does
maintains.
Doc Rivers survives, right? Because they just can't do anything else at this point, right?
I mean, I don't think at this point you can say that it's. I mean, I don't think you can blame the coach. Plus, last year they fired a coach midseason. I mean, I guess if it goes completely off the rails, then maybe you end up getting rid of him. But I mean, then you start looking at Giannis maybe a little bit differently. That hey, he wanted Adrian Griffin, then you got to believe he signed off on firing Adrian Griffin. You got to believe he signed off on bringing in Doc. Then if they fire Doc, you got to believe he signed off on that. And suddenly you're looking at Giannis as a guy who's been injured the last two playoffs, a guy who's gotten multiple coaches hired and fired, and you start looking at him a little bit differently. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy.
All right, we're gonna take a brief recess, Mike. I'll be right back.
You got it. You got it, man. I saw you.
Sorry, Mike.
All good, brother.
All right. What we'll pick up. Do you have any? Do you have another one or not?
Yeah, I can go with you have did you do all yours?
I did all three of mine. I did all three of
Okay.
mine.
All right. So I'll do my I'll do my last. I'll come up with my last one. All right. So that wraps up my second one with the Milwaukee Bucks. And I'm gonna go with a combo positive negative scary for my third one. And let me go with the negative first. So there's a couple guys that played on the US Olympic team who have gotten off to, I would say, inauspicious starts. One of them is Joel Embiid. I'm not going to spend any time talking about Embiid. You saw he got a tech in the one game that he wasn't playing for
He's
waving the
just
towel.
throwing. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. He's fast. He's fast approaching the James Harden, Karl Anthony Towns trifecta of just dudes who are completely. You couldn't pay me to have them on my team, and we're talking about a guy who's won the MVP, and I wouldn't want him anywhere near my franchise. But that's not my next scariest one. Who's the other guy from the Olympic team that has gotten off to, I would say, a poor start?
Tyrese Halliburton,
Tyrese
the nothing burger the other night.
Tyrese Halliburton. So if I'm the Indiana Pacers, I'm kind of concerned with Tyrese Halliburton. And is he hurt? Was his 2 months at the beginning of last season a flash in the pan of something that he caught lightning in a bottle? Was it a mini Linsanity? I don't know what it was. But Tyrese Halliburton through 4 games is averaging 14 points a game. Here's a guy who
Father Time is caught up to Tyrese Halliburton.
it could be 2 a.m., maybe 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. is caught up to Tyrese Halliburton. But he's averaging 5.5 assists, which he's a guy who for the last couple of years has been consistently right around 10. And his assist to turnover ratio was like 5-1, 6-1. This year he's averaging 2 turnovers a game. So only 5 assists, 2 turnovers. He's shooting the ball extremely poorly. 33% overall from the floor, 26% from three, 63% from the free throw line. I'd be very, very concerned. And so here's how I want to juxtapose Tyrese Halliburton's performance. And I want to go back to, I guess it would be, how many seasons ago are we going? When was Garland's season he made the All-Star team? Was that 2022? Or was that
It was
2 seasons ago or was that 3 seasons ago?
it was the season before Donovan Mitchell was on the team, right?
So Mitchell, this is Mitchell's 3rd year with the Cavs, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm making sure.
I'm
2022.
pretty sure. Okay. So if you go back to 2022, I remember that we were having a debate on the podcast about which one of these young guards would we want. And there was a discussion at some point, and I vaguely remember the details of it, but I know we talked about Tyrese Halliburton versus Darius Garland. And at that point, I think there were a lot of people that probably outside of the Cleveland market that would have picked Tyrese Halliburton. And based on last season, especially those first 2 months, clearly it looked like Halliburton was the guy. And Garland last year had a terrible year. He started out bad even before he broke his jaw. And then when he came back from the broken jaw, he just was never himself. And he just wasn't very good, to be honest with you, all throughout that entire season. And it seemed like he had kind of been forgotten as a guy who was a really, really good young player. And everybody got super hyped about Halliburton. Obviously, Halliburton was on the World Cup team in the Philippines. And then this past year, he's on the Olympic team and clearly didn't play much, over you probably could have made a case for a bunch of other guards to be on that team instead of Halliburton. And now this 4-game start for Halliburton has been terrible. And compare and contrast that with Darius Garland. I texted you last night during the Cavs-Knicks game that's the best game Garland has played in, I don't know, a year and a half. I mean, last year, I don't think he had a game anywhere near what he did last night.
Yep.
And the game that he played last night was, I don't know if you remember the game he had 50 against the Timberwolves 2 years ago, but it just felt like in that game that he was super confident and looking for his shot and making his floaters and confident raising up and shooting the three, whether it was off the dribble or off the catch. And last night, that was the first time that I've seen that version of Darius Garland in terms of his confidence, his bounce, his willingness to look for his own shot, and yet at the same time, draw and kick and do all the things that he's very, very good at when he's at his best. And look, if Garland's going to play this way, your talk of the Cavs being able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals and challenge the Celtics, I think is real if he's going to play this well. So he's averaging just under 20 a game. He's averaging 5 assists. He's shooting 54% from the floor, 50% from three, and he's yet to miss a free throw this season. So if you're getting this version of Darius Garland for the Cleveland Cavaliers throughout the entirety of the season, I mean, we all know they're 4-0 and they've looked really good. And the Kenny Atkinson changes that we hoped for and thought were going to happen clearly have materialized on the offensive end of the floor. I just think when I talk about something being scary, I talk about if I'm Indiana, I'm scared that Tyrese Halliburton that I'm signing up for right now was that a 2-month mirage that we saw when Halliburton was a first-team All-NBA looking guy. And then with Darius Garland, if he's going to be this good, it makes the Cavs pretty scary moving forward because I think Mitchell's going to be Mitchell. Mobley is certainly better, certainly getting more opportunities in Kenny Atkinson's offense than he got with JB Bickerstaff. Whether he gets to the level that we want him to get to, I still don't know, but it's nice to see him trying and doing and just being put in position to make more plays and develop into the kind of player that they need him to become. The Cavs have been really, really impressive. I'm going to ask you one Cavs question.
Okay.
What's the one spot that you'd want to upgrade?
The 3.
If you could.
The 3.
Well, so there's two guys who I would want to upgrade their slot.
It's the 3.
They both are
the 3.
They both theoretically kind of do the same thing.
It's the 3, Mike. It's the 3.
Dean Wade and George Niang. I can do without major minutes for either one of those guys.
Hey, but Mike. Zach Lowe tweeted this. Zach Lowe tweeted this about Dean Wade today.
All your accounting needs?
He wrote, accounting needs. Drippy Dean Wade has been very good to start the season. Only makes plus plays. And he wrote, cue the jingle for all your counting needs. Dean Wade, 32-32.
Dean Wade.
Zach Lowe's all in, baby. Zach Lowe's all in.
The next time Dean Wade makes a big shot, I think will be the first time he makes one. So I know he made the one against the Celtics last year when he came back, but man, I don't know. It seems like every time we're on a run and we need him to make one to keep the run going, or we need him to make one to break another team's run, it just doesn't go in. And look, I like George Niang because he's feisty, but I mean, George Niang can't play minutes in a playoff series against anybody who's a legitimate opponent. So I know they're not going to be able to do much with that spot, but man, I'd like to see that spot producing something. One of those two guys has to be able to knock some shots down with some regular consistency, because I just feel like I don't know. They always leave me wanting. That's the one spot in these first 4 games, and I'm always like, man, they got to do something more with that. So
yeah, but once again, that wouldn't have been as apparent if Strus has an out. right? Like maybe
True. But you need. See, the thing is, Strus isn't quite big enough to play that spot, right? That's why that's why
hey,
Wade and Yang.
Dean Wade led the team in scoring against the Pistons.
Oh, man, it's the Detroit.
Listen, this is the stretch here now, Mike. I don't know if you how much ahead you've looked at the Cavs schedule. You know what this weekend is like, right? Or
Well, I
this
know they
week
got
is
the
what
Lakers, and then you got Orlando and
Lakers,
probably
Orlando,
Milwaukee.
Lakers, Orlando Friday, Milwaukee Saturday, Milwaukee Monday. And then who do we have on Wednesday next week? Someone good, someone else good.
Here, I'll pull it up.
Pelicans Wednesday.
Okay.
So that's a stretch right there. And then the Warriors on Friday next week. Like, I mean, we got
Yeah,
that's
but
a pretty.
here's the thing, right? If you're at home against the Lakers in Orlando, so 2 home games. Then Milwaukee, we just got done saying what terrible time they have staying in front of anybody on the perimeter. So if any team is set up to blow by guys on the perimeter at the guard position, the Cavs certainly should be in good position to offensively be able to attack Milwaukee. They may not be able to do much with Giannis and Dame on the other end, but certainly Milwaukee shouldn't be able to stop the Cavaliers' offense. So, and the Pelicans, I mean, who knows, up and down, and they haven't been. They're 2-1, but they haven't been great. So, look, let's put it this way: if the Cavs were going to Los Angeles or to Orlando, I would expect them to lose both of those games just because of my negative, because of my negativity and outlook. So theoretically, with Los Angeles and Orlando coming here, Cavs riding into those 2 games at 4-0, at least right now, you would expect that they're going to be able to take care of business and win those games. But who knows?
All right, so I guess let's end with this, Mike. Let's make the prediction. How are they going to do this week? So we've got Lakers tomorrow, Orlando Friday, Milwaukee Monday, Milwaukee Saturday, Milwaukee on Sunday. So in this 4 games, what are you looking for the Cavs? 3-1? Are you happy with 3-1?
I think
Are
you're
you
happy with 3-1.
are you saying they're going to go be 8-0? Are they going to be the last team undefeated team left, or is Boston going to stick with them?
I think you're happy with 3-0. I think you
3-1,
probably
you mean?
3-1. Sorry, I think you beat the Lakers. I think you beat Orlando, and I think you probably split that Milwaukee series.
Yeah, I think 3-1's legit. I think 3-1's legit. I think Orlando game's the most scary game to me, honestly.
Maybe. I mean, look, Orlando's playing really, really well. I mean, I pulled up their stats. That was something that I thought about if I was going to go with something scary that's positive. I mean, Paolo obviously has the 50-point game. Uh, Seems like he's taking another leap. He's averaging 29, 9, and 6 as a 22-year-old. It's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty solid.
Pretty
And
solid.
then Franz is averaging 20, and he had a lot of struggles last year from the 3-point line that was well documented. And he's currently shooting 44% from the 3-point line on 6.5 attempts per game. So that's pretty good too. And if those 2 guys continue to play at that level, Suggs is shooting 45% from 3 on 8 attempts a game. I mean, if Jalen Suggs is going to do that, Suggs is shooting 92% from the line. I mean, if those 3 guys are going to play at that level, Orlando's going to be really, really tough to beat because, again, where they were so strong last year was at the defensive end of the floor, and where they were weak was on the offensive end of the floor. And if those 3 guys are going to play that well and shoot the ball at the level that they're shooting it now, Orlando's going to be really, really tough to deal with. I mean, they really are. And it speaks to, again, the depth of the entire league. And there's just a lot of good teams. There's just a lot of good teams. And the teams at the bottom, I mean, yeah, there's some bad teams, but there's just a lot of good teams. A lot of good teams. I mean, there's only going into tonight, there were only 4 Eastern Conference teams who are above 500 though. So
All right. I think I don't have anything else to add, Mike. You did a
all
great
right.
job.
Well, let's leave it there. So we hit on our scariest things in the NBA for our special Halloween week episode of the Hoopheads Pod. So thanks for checking that out, and we will be back next week to see if our Cavs predictions for the upcoming week hold true, and Jason will update us on the wins draft. So thanks for checking us out tonight, and we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks. All right.
All right. We would have been
Done.
done way earlier if it wasn't for my
Yeah,
interruption.
well,
I
it
apologize.
wasn't that bad. It was all right. It was fine. It was
All right.
fine.
So I tomorrow night's probably not like gonna happen at all for me if I had to guess.
It's fine.
Because
It's all good.
I don't know what
good, man.
I don't know what time I'll be
Man.
I don't know what time I'll be home because we won't necessarily finalize our cuts or anything tomorrow, but the best part of the